Miss Church. It's Stop Drop and HSA. HSA is coming in about 2 weeks, I think, from today. Or less than that, you guys are going to be taking it. So this is just a real quick and dirty recap of government concepts to really help you succeed on the HSA. So I apologize if we're going a little fast, but that's kind of what we have. All right, so first thing, types of government. All right, there are really two types of major subcategories of types of government. We've got democratic and authoritarian. All right, now democratic, that's what we have. That's when governments have people give input into how they want their government to run. Authoritarian, that's when there's absolute rule. And we're going to learn about the different subsets of those types. And a way that I remember that, authoritarian, that sounds like authority. Authority is when someone has control, right? They say that they're the authority. Sports authority, for example, right? They're called sports authority because they want you to think that they're the people who know about sports. So let's backtrack for a second and let's look at those types of democratic governments. A direct democracy is when people directly vote on an issue. What they vote on is what what happens. So the way to remember that is the key word direct. You're directly affecting your government. Now the other type is representative democracy. Representative democracy is when people pick another person to make decisions for them. And again, a way to remember that is rep, right? When you say, I'm repping Northwestern, or I'm going to represent myself or my community, right? You are showing how another group of people feel. So you're putting on for a group. Okay, so representative democracy, you pick someone else to make decisions for you. Direct democracy, you are immediately making decisions to affect your government. So now let's check out authoritarian. All right, totalitarianism, that's when the government has total control. They own you, they make decisions for you. You really have no say. It's kind of the hand you've been dealt with. A dictatorship, that's someone who, again, dictates. And if you don't know what dictate meaning, that, again, they get to say what happens. And that's normally one person who gets to make all those decisions. Now, going off of that one person, we also have monarchy. And Miss Church is not an artist, I apologize. But this is supposed to be a little crown, okay? A monarchy is when there is someone who is making, again, those decisions for you, but they're royalty, okay? Oligarchy, that's ruled by a few group of people. It's not one person, but it's still a select little group. And they're making all the decisions, and everybody's got to live by them. So now we're going to look at some principles of government. And the first one, which this is the trickiest one, I personally think, is popular sovereignty. Whew! What does that mean? That is a big word. Well, basically, what popular sovereignty means is that the people have a say, that the reason why the government works is because people are participating. They're kind of dictating what's going to happen. A way to remember that is popular, right? What's popular mean? Oh, she's so popular. Popular means you got a lot of friends, right? People like you. There are people involved. So when you see popular sovereignty, you should think rule by people, okay? People are making decisions. That goes to social contract. A contract, right, that's something you sign. You know, if a football player gets drafted to the NFL, right, they sign a contract for how many dollars they're going to be on the team, do the workouts, etc., etc. A social contract is basically an agreement between people and the government. The people say, hey, we're going to give up some rights. The government says, hey, I'm going to give you some order. And that's kind of this agreement that people are going to obey the laws. Now, there is no real document. Miss Church is not signing something, giving away my rights, but it's just this acknowledgement, this idea that I can't, for example, I can't go 95 on the highway, even though I technically could. I have given up some of my rights so that the police, they could give me a ticket, right? And the police do that to maintain order. Now, going off with that maintaining order theme, we also have the consent of the governed, which also connects to social contract. The reason why President Obama has so much power is because the people, we think that the president should have power. We have given that, we have created that idea, and we follow the rules and we follow what has been stated based on how our government works. Rule of law is this idea that everybody's got to follow the rules. President Obama has to follow the same rules that I do, even though he's in charge. And that is basically saying that elected officials, those in political office, they have to follow the Constitution, which is our playbook for how our government should run. Federalism. Federalism is this idea that there is shared power between the different forms of government. So there are three forms of government. There's unitary, confederate, and federal. And shout out to Michael Stewart for making this excellent little diagram. But in unitary governments, the central or national government, they're the ones who have all the power. Confederate governments, that's when the local government has all that power. And in federal governments, which is what we have in the United States, local and central governments share power. So that's, again, another principle of government, that federalism piece. There's shared power between local and central governments. Majority rule. Majority rule, right? That's when you vote the side that gets the most, the 51%, then that's the decision that will happen. I'm sure all of us have experienced times when one group wants to goes out to dinner, one wants to go to the movies, right? You got to make a decision. The side that has the most votes, they're going to get the decision. Separation of powers. That's a concept where branches of government, which we're going to learn about in just a second, they each have different jobs. So there's not one group that's doing everything. It's split up, right? You might have that in your household, right? Someone might do the dishes, someone does the cooking, someone does the cleaning, right? It's making sure that there's that differentiation, that there's separation of powers. No one branch is too powerful. And lastly, we got checks and balances, which is, again, the branches of government. If one branch is getting a little out of hand, the other one can say, you can't do that. All right, so now let's learn a little bit more about the separation, about the three branches.